Good morning. Okay, so let's open up project 6-1. It is zoom.xlsx, and we're going to be looking at salary and performance ratings for the Zoom Corporation. We have employee ID numbers, we have last names, we have first names, we have annual salary, and we have their performance ratings on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Think of it as a grading system, 5 being an A, 4 being a B. And then we have an empty column where we're actually going to insert some data in a few minutes. And over here on the far right hand side, we have two different ranges of salaries. We have a lower range and we have a higher range. Low range is from 30,000 to 36,000, and the high range is from 36,000 to 45,000. And we are going to have these cells over here calculate whether they fall into the low or the high category. So we can compare whether or not their performance rating actually matches their salary category. So the first thing we're going to do is sort this data so that performance rating has the higher performers at the top, the lower performers at the bottom. So click anywhere in column E, and let's come over here to sort and filter. We should be on the home screen, and choose largest to smallest. So now we have the 5s at the top, or the 5 at the top, and the 1.5 at the bottom. And in cell F5, let's type in salary category. And luckily it's already wrapped for us, so it fit in there nicely. And here we're going to insert a formula. And you guys haven't had this formula yet, so this is an if-then formula. It says if a cell, in this particular instance it's going to be D6. If D6 falls in the lower range, then type the word low in the salary category. If it falls within the high range, type the word high. That way we can see if it falls appropriately based on their performance ratings, and then we can see any anomalies. We're going to be looking for two that pop out that don't match. So let's first start with our equal sign. That's how we always start formulas. And we will type in the word if. If, open parentheses, D6 is less than 36,001, comma, quote, then type in low, comma, and if it's not, type in high, end quote. So we have if, open parentheses, D6 is less than 36,001, comma, open parentheses, low, end parentheses, or sorry, open quote, low, end quote, comma, open quote, high, end quote. And then let's close it off with a closed parentheses and hit enter. Okay, so the formula was written properly to where the word low is what is showing for a performance rate, or excuse me, a salary of 35,700. So let's go ahead and copy this formula all the way down to the bottom. Now we can see that some of the salaries don't really match the performance ratings. Generally, higher performers should be paid higher salaries. We see that Wanda Thompson has a 5.0 for performance rating. She's doing really well, but she falls into the low category. So let's make a note over here and try to explain why she might have a lower salary. We're going to use our creativity for that one. William and Cynthia both have high salaries and high performance ratings, so they match. That would be appropriate. But here we have two other low salary categories and relatively high performance ratings. So we need to come up with reasons why these two employees might have a low salary instead of a high salary. And then let's look down here. We have low, 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 and then we have a high salary for 3.5. And it looks like that is about, 3.5 is about where the high categories need to start for it to be consistent. So these three pop out with inconsistencies. So let's go ahead and insert some notes. Let's go to Insert, let's go to Shapes, and we're going to choose, you can choose whatever shape you want, but let's look at this shamrock shape. It's a little interesting. because it has an arrow, but yet it has a tail at the end. So go ahead and make the shamrock, or the chevron, excuse me, to be long and thin. But our arrow is pointing in the wrong direction. So let's flip it by grabbing the far right hand corner, dragging it back into itself, and go the other direction. And now we've actually flipped it, and we can move it around as well. And we can also grab this green circle, and when we grab it and we hold it, we can move it around and rotate it to where we want it. So let's kind of rotate it a little bit funky like that, and point it to this very first, or actually the third low employee here. Make it a little bit more narrow. And let's type in a reasoning here. Let's see how the words come out. They might not come out right, but let's type in a reason such as maybe the employee is still on probation, meaning that they've just been hired, and maybe we should put in still on 90-day probation. Oftentimes companies hire people for the first 90 days, and after the 90 days, then they can be considered a full employee if they've performed properly. So let's say this employee is still on 90-day probation. We'll promote on 91st day. Okay, so now we've actually made it a little bit longer than what we had space for, so let's stretch out our shamrock or chevron a little bit. Okay. Okay, so now go ahead and create two other notes as to why Wanda Thompson may have a low salary but still perform very well, and why Ronald has a low salary but performs relatively high. You can use your own creativity for that. Okay, so next, after we've gotten, you should have 3 notes in here. I've only got 1, but you should have 3. Let's go ahead and highlight the top 5 annual salaries and the bottom 5 annual salaries by using conditional formatting. So here we have to highlight the category or the area that we want to have analyzed. Let's choose conditional formatting, and let's do top bottom rules, and let's do top 10 items. And let's change the 10 to a 5, and we can leave it at light red fill with dark red text. And then let's do conditional formatting again, and top bottom rules, and this time let's pick the bottom 10 items and change the 10 to a 5. And then let's change to yellow fill with dark yellow text and say OK. All right. So now we've got some different analyzing textures in our document. Let's go ahead and hit save, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, next let's open up creative.xlsx. It's project 6-7, and we're going to insert some notes into the cells. These are called comments. Let's click on cell D8. D8 has a number 85 in the cell. And it looks to me like this is the daily production results, possibly of a maintenance department, floor area number 10, and machines 101, 102, and 103. So this is a maintenance schedule and how they performed each day. So it looks like machine number 101 produced 98 widgets of whatever they make, and 102 made 95, and machine 103 made 98. So on Wednesday, machine 102 did a lot less production than it normally does. So let's make a comment here that says this particular machine was shut down for 2 hours for maintenance, so that when someone is looking at this and they question why did this machine only produce 85 widgets instead of its normal 98 to 99, there will be a comment in there. So to insert a comment, let's go to review and new comment. And here let's go ahead and type in shut down for 2 hours for maintenance. and enter. Okay, now as we click outside of that comment, we'll notice that our comment goes away, but there's a little red triangle in the top right hand corner of the cell indicating that there is a comment there. So if you happen to be looking at this document and you notice that, oh, hey, there's only 45 widgets made that day. Why? Well, there's a comment. Let's hover over it. When we hover over it without even clicking, the comment appears. Shut down for 2 hours for maintenance. Okay, so now we understand why that machine didn't produce as well. So let's go to cell D9 and insert another comment. D9 has 107. That's much higher than its normal production. So let's insert a comment that says production time increased by 2 hours to make up for maintenance on machine 102. Okay, so this machine ran for 2 additional hours than it normally does. And so that was how they accommodated maybe the daily production rate that had to be produced between all 3 different machines. Okay, in G9, let's insert another comment. Shut down for major repairs. G9 has 0 production for that day. So let's insert a new comment. Shut down for major repairs. Period. Okay, so we have 3 comments in 3 different cells, and we can identify what they are just from looking at them. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create a logo for this Creative Cubicle Corporation. So let's insert a cube in the top left-hand corner. So insert, let's go to Shapes. Let's pick the cube, which is under Basic Shapes, second row, last icon. It should say cube if you overlap it. And then let's draw a cube in the upper left-hand corner. Now it's going to be different sizes for everybody, so let's make sure we get it to a 0.5. So let's go over to the far right hand side of height and width and put in 0.5 for both pieces of data. Now our cube should be the same. Everybody should be the same. And something that would be interesting to do is to copy it and paste it and see how that cube lands with the pasting. So go ahead and hit Control C for copy and Control V for paste. And we'll see that our cube is now 2 cubes, and we can move the second one around and go ahead and place it where you think it looks the nicest for a design. It doesn't really matter. It's just the design of the logo, so the cube can drop anywhere you want. Okay, and let's go ahead and insert a header and footer with your name and the current date and save it. And we are done with our lessons for Chapter 6.